Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm earlier was TJ Cornwell.
And tonight we are going to be doing basically three main events, one opener, two main events. We are going to be doing our movie grid game that we've been doing every single week, which is like a cool little movie Sudoku game that is on. Do you say Sudoku or Sudoku?
Sudoku.
Because that's what it is, right?
I think so. I don't know. That's
You're
how
right.
I've always pronounced it.
Which is a fun little game that TJ started us on. I think like almost 2 months ago at this point, which is a lot of fun. And then we are going to jump into a Last of Us review. We're going to probably touch on a little bit of spoilers for the episode, although I don't really know. There's not really a ton to spoil in this episode because it's kind of a lot of setup. And then we're going to get to the main event, which is, by the way, this is a long time. Not since Ahsoka have we been this consistent with reviewing a show every single week. Because House of the Dragon and Loki season 2, we were very consistent, but we did every other week. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy that Daredevil, we have even 1 week, we didn't talk about it on the show and then recorded a 50-minute standalone review that we put up the next night. So that was awesome too. So I'm very proud of the fact that we've been sticking with this show every week through all of its ups and downs. And we are going to talk about how it all wrapped up and where it's still left to go in season 2, which luckily has been filming for even a couple months now at this point. So we will be talking about all of that stuff. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into our movie grid this week. And let's see who we have. We have Miles Teller, Amanda Seyfried, and then director/actor Jesse Eisenberg. And the categories are $100 million or above box office, 3 or more word title, and then released from 2005 to 2025. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Jesse Eisenberg.
Lex himself.
So yeah, I think maybe we want to go for 100 million. Maybe we want to go like Superman or Justice League. Although, is 100 million really that high of a bar to clear? You know what I mean?
Not really, but honestly, there's only like 3 that I can even think of for him, and it's Justice League, BVS, and then Social Network. And I feel like out of those 3, nobody remembers that he was in Justice League.
Right.
Because
what about
he's
like
just in the
Now You See Me?
What about Now You Three Me?
Is that out? Did that come? That one came
No,
out?
it's not out yet.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
Now You See Me too. Definitely did though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be probably that, unless you could think of something better.
I just think Justice League is like nobody would even think of him as being in that movie.
Yeah, was he in any of the other ones, like cameo wise?
No, because that's the only one that he's in as a cameo.
Okay. What about like? Isn't he in? No, I thought he was in Superbad for some reason.
What about? No, you're thinking of maybe Adventureland, but that I don't think that made 100 million.
Yeah, probably not. Let's go with like.
What about Zombieland?
Zombieland.
What about Zombieland 2 Double Tap?
Yeah, I would think that probably made. Yeah. I would go with that. That's a good call. I forgot that.
There you go. All right. Are we going with it?
Wait a minute. What was that one movie he did with it was like Danny McBride? It was like a bomb or something.
Oh, Pineapple Express?
No.
Or 30 Minutes or Less?
Yeah, I think
You're talking about the Cash Office special.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about Tony's Office.
You think that made 100 million? Probably.
Overall,
I think so.
It was a movie of a different time. It was a movie. Yeah. It definitely came out at a time where those kind of movies could make 100 million.
Right.
I would say we could go for it.
Okay.
Whether we lose if we lose. Quite a lot, actually, I guess.
Okay.
All right.
So go with Now You See Me or something, I guess is probably, that's a good one.
Or do you want to do Zombieland?
Or Zombieland is fine too. All right.
Okay, I'll take that, man. All right, I'll take that. Let's go Amanda Seyfried.
All right, I would just go. I feel like Mamma Mia is probably the easiest.
Yeah.
Either
like in what about In Time? Let's do this. Let's do Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Okay.
Let's do In Time for this one.
Okay.
I feel like Amanda Seyfried is like sneakily like she's got a deep bench, you know.
Oh, is that that's the one where he's got like the time on his wrist or whatever.
Yeah. How much is a villa? 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Amanda Seyfried, word title. Probably. Well, we did Mamma Mia already.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was that movie she was? There was wasn't there that Netflix movie she was in? What was it? Was it with Kevin Bacon? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
It's from like a few years ago. Maybe I'm thinking of two completely different movies, but I think she was in like a Netflix horror movie that came out like decently, like not very recently, maybe like a few years ago. Let's see. She's never been like a Marvel or a DC. God, I only know her from
what about
does
she have a oh no, that's either way, that's not, never mind. Yeah, does she have like a famous voice role? I feel like she does. Is she in The Croods?
The Croods?
Or is that that's Emma Stone? That's Emma Stone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
What about like freaky movies? Like, is she in like a Yorgos Lanthimos movie?
I don't think. Oh no, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
I really thought of Mank, but it's like
oh yeah, it's one word. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Miles Teller.
Yeah, let's try it for Miles. Okay.
Okay.
I feel like
the easiest one.
Yeah. I actually think that this one might be good for Top Gun Maverick.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
All right,
well,
34. Yeah.
Yeah. 100 million. I mean, do you go with the obvious? What's this even called? How do I know this is the right one?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think it's the Fantastic Four.
No, it's definitely not the, because otherwise people would call it the Fant4stick.
Is it?
Because I feel like the logo is just the word fantastic with the four. But then this is throwing me off, because why would this movie be called The Fantastic Four and then this movie wouldn't be called The?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll go with it.
Well, there's got to be another one.
Another what?
What's another movie that made 100 million that he was in? I'm trying to think. Again, I feel like Miles Teller. Oh,
Whiplash.
How much did Whiplash make?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, but I don't think 100 million.
No. Well, you could do that for 2025.
Yeah.
That, or you could do the Gorge.
Yeah.
What do you think is better? Probably the Gorge.
Definitely the Gorge.
There you go. 9.7. Okay.
Right. I feel like, again, I feel like Miles has a deep bench. Like, Insurgent.
I was gonna say, wasn't he was in like
what about Defiant? I've never seen any of these movies.
I don't think. Oh, what about? Oh no, that hasn't.
Isn't it Defiant? What the hell is that franchise called? Divergent.
Yeah.
But what is the second one called?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was called Insurgent.
Letters to Juliet. Daniel says.
Letters to Juliet.
I think that made 100
Miles.
I don't even know if that. I don't even know what that is.
Or maybe that's for Amanda. Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Let us know.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
We'll take the suggestion. Okay. I feel like Miles, we're just not thinking the right way about.
You might just have two Fantastic Four and just guess which one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the or not, but I would think if Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer, I would think it would have the.
It
in
would
front
keep
of
the
it.
same.
Yeah. So I think it's
So you think it's the.
Yeah.
Here we go. Whoa!
it.
Yeah, but there's no the
It's
in the
not
in
the
logo.
title, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
Let's go back to
Juliet.
Jesse. Let's go to Jesse.
Yep.
Let's go with a real pain for this.
Okay. Yep.
No. Let's go with Art of Self-Defense.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Boom.
Yep.
Let's
1%. Love that.
Let's go. All right. So we have one left. Maybe if this Letters to Juliet is Amanda, maybe we play it safe and go with this. Or 3 or more word title for Jesse. I mean, there's like a million of that. I feel like we could definitely do that. Yeah, let's probably just go with that because that one I can think of a bunch. I mean, now you 3 me, obviously.
Yeah.
Now you
Is it Social Network or The Social Network?
It's The Social Network.
Okay.
I
think you just do the Letters to Juliet one and just take the easy go.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had some pretty good percentages, I would say.
Yeah. Letters to Juliet. 11.
Wow, 11%. I'm surprised.
All right, let's see. Whiplash.
Oh, Jennifer's Body.
Totally Jennifer's Body. Oh, yeah, duh. Rare. Allegiance. I was trying to get there. Come on. Oh, my God. I was trying to get there.
Get a job.
21 and over. What the hell? Get a job. That just seems like the fakest movie ever.
Oh,
Scoob, right? Because what is she? Daphne in that?
Daphne, yeah.
Of course. Love the Epic. I actually knew that. Oh, I did know that. Is. Right. Okay. He's way more famous.
He's in Rio too? I did not know that.
I guess so. Is it? Maybe he's the voice of Rio.
What is that middle one?
He's way more famous than you.
No, okay.
Looks like a classic Michael Chernus.
0.0%.
Looks like a real classic Michael Chernus. Is this Ralph Macchio here? Wow.
See, now, like, is that now here's my thing. Let me look that up. Is that like a movie or is it like some short thing that like that Thor thing that we had that one?
Yeah, like Team Thor. He's an hour 36 minutes.
Yeah.
It is Ralph Macchio, right. Jesse Eisenberg, and wouldn't you fucking know it, Michael Chernus.
Wow.
Wow. Right. Incredible.
I stand corrected.
Wow. All right. That was our movie grid. I would say
better than last week.
Yeah, it was definitely better than last week. I think probably higher end of our goes at it. But all right, let's go. Let's just jump right in. Again, this is gonna be I guess we should say before. First of all, right there, call in. We have the link down below. We have the link in chat. Go ahead and call in. Make sure that your camera is off, your microphone is on. That's when we bring you in the show, it doesn't mess with anything. If you want to talk about Last of Us, if you want to talk about Daredevil, hit the link in the comments or in the live chat right now. We will keep you down in the tray, and then once we're ready, we will bring you onto the show, and you can talk to us yourself about either one of these shows, Last of Us or Daredevil. And we are going to talk Last of Us Season 2 right now, which, TJ, I didn't even remember how like dedicated we were. This was back when we had the time. This was still during... It wasn't COVID because this was 23, right? Or was it 22? It was. I know it was like January 1st, but I don't know if
23.
Okay, so it was like January 1st, 2023.
Yeah.
But this was back during the time that we didn't even cover it on the main show. We did dedicated Last of Us videos every week. We will see if we get to that point again, but with the show. But for now, we are going to dive right into the premiere episode of The Last of Us Season 2. So, TJ, keep it spoiler-free for now, and then I'll give my thoughts too. What did you think about this return to this HBO drama series based on the Neil Druckmann joint video game?
Yeah, I was happy with the premiere episode of the new season. I'm glad to see these characters back. We were talking a few weeks earlier. You know, I'm interested to see how they kind of prolong this season, because they are doing a third. So, assuming not everything that happens in the second game is going to happen in this one season, so I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of storylines that are made, or new characters that are made that don't exist in the game. I've seen a few TikToks already where it's like they've taken stuff that like is barely talked about or not talked about at all from the game and like made it its own thing. Like just for example, this like I think it was so when they're in like the abandoned store and it has like the employee of the month and it's like the dog that's on like that's like in the game. But I think there was like another thing where and I forget if they made this character or it was something, but it wasn't actually in the game. It was like concept art, but then in the show they like made it into like a thing or something.
Oh wow.
So like just stuff like that where it's like it's not really, you know, a big part of the game, but hey, it's stuff we can use to kind of prolong the story and, you know, add more elements to the world. I thought everybody was great. Really happy to see Pedro Pascal obviously in this role again. And I'm just really excited to see what happens. From the sizzle reel that we kind of got at the end of the episode, I don't know. I always forget. You know what happens or you don't?
I know like the thing that happens, but I don't know like the specifics of it. Like I know the who and the what, but I don't know the how or the. I mean, I can pretty much guess the why at this point after seeing the show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So after watching that and seeing some people kind of, I guess, take screenshots of the game and then kind of compare it to the sizzle reel and kind of line it up like that. I'm thinking like maybe the big moment isn't too far off from now. And so maybe, you know, they get to it quicker than I thought. And then they just kind of expand the rest throughout, you know, a second season and a third season.
I can't really speak on it because I didn't play the second game at all. I just feel like I would be so shocked if we got to it faster than we're thinking.
Yeah.
Like and I know that Pedro didn't film that much, but and I know that, you know, well, I know that he didn't film that much because of, you know, his commitment with the movie that he has coming out next year, and the movie that he has coming out this year.
Yeah.
But I would be shocked. Let's just say that. But
and then you know, the reveal of Caitlin Deaver as well, I thought was kind of cool to get that out of the way in the beginning.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I was like, it was funny because, you know, Danielle and I were talking about like, you know, casting all that stuff and how people were complaining, whether it be about Bella Ramsey or Pedro Pascal or Caitlin Deaver or whatever. And I was like, well, you know, people just want something to complain about, obviously, all the time. I was surprised at first that she wasn't bigger, as in like, because Abby in the game was like jacked out of her mind.
Yeah.
But then they did like a 5 years later jump. And I was like, hey, a lot can happen in 5 years. So you can get like really muscly. So we don't know.
And she was wearing a big like winter jacket.
Right. So, you know, maybe in the next few episodes, she takes off the jacket. She's jacked. I don't know. So I'm very interested to see if that becomes a thing or not. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good episode. And I am excited to see, you know, what they do with the rest of the season.
Yeah, I have only, unlike what I normally do with, also that was the other thing I wanted to say is that the next 2 weeks shows might be a little bit wonky, but I've just been running out a lot of personal time, and there's just a lot of TV right now. So I've only seen this episode once. I just watched it Monday morning after it came out, and I can't decide whether it's like, oh, it's such a like. Sorry. Oh my god. Ooh. The yawning is back. I can't decide whether or not this was like an amazing episode that like really is actually like a kind of a sleeper hit that like grows on you, or if it was just like I really like that episode, but I kind of was hoping for a bigger like bang to come back. And I feel like that's kind of the little in-between place that I'm sitting with this episode right now. Not to say in any way that that's bad. I really enjoyed the episode, but I was like, okay, feels like another episode of The Last of Us. And to that, I feel like it was just like really taking its time to be like, here is everybody new, here is everybody to get you caught back up with where we were. And here's how kind of the dynamics have changed after this big time jump. To me, I'll focus on something because I know we'll talk a little bit more in spoilers here. I'll focus on something that you didn't bring up, which was, to me, I thought actually the standout for this episode. Yes, Pedro Pascal was like amazing. Bella Ramsey, I thought was really good too. I just think that Ellie was really like the point of view character of this. So like it's not like she didn't have as great of moments as it's like what is Joel thinking about this? What is it? We kind of know what Ellie's thinking. So it's just kind of like waiting to see her kind of explode with all of this stuff that she's keeping inside of her right now.
Yeah.
And we just get a little taste of that. But the thing I want to talk about real quick, to anyone who maybe is watching this and has not seen the episode, is I have not played the second game. I had no idea who this character was. Isabella Merced as Dina, is that the character?
Yeah.
Stole the episode. Absolutely stole the episode. I mean, I love Isabella Merced ever since Transformers, whatever it was called, Age of Extinction, when she had the little BB-8 droid with her. But no, in a very real way, she was fine in that. She was like a child in that movie. But the place that I really 100% unironically was like, she is fantastic, was the Dora movie. Ever since that movie, she was so good in that role, playing like the Dora that we all grew up on, with this kind of weird, almost like irreverence that like the movie was going for. And I just thought that she nailed that tone in that I'm talking seriously right now about her performance as Dora, but she is really good. And then it's just everything since then. I mean, and then especially you look at just recently with Alien Romulus, she was fantastic in one of the best parts of that entire movie. You look at she's going to be coming up in Supergirl later this year. And then now this, there's a ton of other things too that I'm just like blanking on, but I could list them all day. But she is fantastic in everything. I had no expectations for who this character was, how this character was going to interact with people, the relationship that I'm assuming we're going to get slowly caught up on with her and Joel. I thought was a huge shock, because I was like, I figured that she would be somebody in Ellie's life. But I did not expect to see this kind of cool relationship with her and Joel. So that was awesome. I thought that her introductory scene was fantastic. And then where she gets to at the end of the episode with what she does at the party, I thought was great. Another person I'm just thinking about because of a great line that he has at the party is the guy who plays Jesse. Again, no idea who this character is or where this character is going, but really, really like, I just immediately was like kind of locked onto the energy of a lot of these new characters in a way that I was a little worried that I wouldn't, I'll be honest, where it's like, I know that the second game is bigger and that there is, a lot more characters to it. Whereas the first season was very solitary with the two of them. And then you get a little bit of Marlene, kind of here and there throughout it. But it was really just the two of them in season one interacting with these different people passing through. So it's cool that these new people on kind of this main crew that seems like it's developing are really hitting it out of the gate. And then also somebody who has basically nothing to do in this episode, but I'm really excited to see where he goes, is Danny Ramirez, is Falcon. I just am happy that he's got Caitlin Deaver to kind of play off of and everything like that, because I'm right now rewatching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he is fantastic in that show, way better than anything they give him in Cap 4 to do, and even better than he was in his limited role in like a Top Gun Maverick. I just think he's really good in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I hope that this show gives him a lot of good stuff to play, because I think he can go there and I think he can play it. But yeah, I think to me, it's like a solid, like, third base hit, if I can use a baseball reference. And I was hoping for a home run, but it was a solid, like, third base hit. Maybe some of the bases were loaded and we got on the board. But I don't know. There was just a little element that held it back from being like, yes,
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And maybe that's just me. And I'm sure it's going to change. I'm sure it's not going to be reflective of the season as a whole, because I know there's going to be a ton of like, holy shit moments coming up. So I'm excited to get to some of those, and I'm excited to get to the rest of the season to kind of explore these characters. But yeah, do you want to hop into some spoiler talk for The Last of Us season 2?
Yeah, just real quick, I think like kind of speaking to this episode lacking kind of like that big, that big bang. I think it was more probably just again getting us maybe a little reacquainted with these characters or relationships, obviously building these new relationships, and kind of obviously extending all that out. And then I think probably in the next 2 episodes you're gonna get those kind of oh shit moments.
Yeah.
That will really kick off the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do agree with you. It was kind of lacking that, like, oh, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah. I agree. I agree that you agree with me. So let's go to, but yeah, absolutely. So let's go over to some spoiler talk. Again, full spoilers here for Last of Us. If you're coming back for the Daredevil talk, probably only spend like about 5 minutes on this, but because as I said, this show's just getting started. It was kind of a slower episode. I'm sure later on, when a lot more starts happening, we are gonna have a lot more deeper dives into this show. But we have a big deep dive that we are trying to get to. So come back in about 5 minutes if you're here for Daredevil talk and don't want to hear spoilers. But full spoilers for The Last of Us, season 2, episode 1. No spoilers for the game though. So I know some channels, the channel that I watch, The Break Room, like 30 minutes of their hour and a half review was them being like, okay, guys, now we're going to talk about the game spoilers. And I'm like, it's episode 1. What do you do? Like, what? I was, so it was like, it's literally in my, YouTube history with the red line is only two quarters of the way through, because I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and listen to all the game spoilers. But anyways, so we are not going to be spoiling the game here, but, I mean, I feel like it's not even a big spoiler, but I feel like my mind immediately goes to like the Catherine O'Hara scene was kind of the one thing that we did not talk about. The whole kind of Will Joel. The thing I loved about the episode is that it had a clear, like I say, like the Clone Wars style. The Clone Wars always had the little moral at the start of every episode. It was like love your neighbor, or like the path to freedom is inside yourself. Like, I feel like the thing for this episode was you can't confront pain unless you're, brave enough to say it out loud. And that was multiple characters expressed that, and then she said it straight up to Joel. And so I loved that scene, and I loved Catherine O'Hara in this. I think she's fantastic on the studio right now as well. But yeah, I'm excited to know what were your thoughts on this, because I know a little bit about that this is not in the game at all. That I know that the Eugene character is in the game, but that this like therapist Gail character is like either an amalgamation or like just a bunch of new stuff. So what were your thoughts on the therapy and everything like that?
Yeah, I thought like you said, I thought Catherine O'Hara was really good in this episode. I honestly forget about like Gail as a character. You might be right that she's not in the game. Her husband is like, I think it was, I read that he's mentioned in passing. It's been a while. I haven't played the game since it came out, so my memory is very foggy on it. But that maybe I think her husband is like, mentioned, and then that was one of the things that I'm talking about, where they're kind of taking stuff from the game and kind of expanding on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of a cool idea to put that in kind of the air that it's like, you killed my husband, and I don't like the way you did that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know why he's dead.
We don't know anything. I mean, obviously,
did he steal something? I don't know. Whatever happened.
And like, why is it that the issue she has isn't that he did it? It's the how he did it. Yeah, like, why is that what she's hung up on? Like, was it like, oh, the little tribunal Supreme Court thing that they had, like they sentenced him to death, and Joel could have, like, just done like a gunshot, but he like I don't know, that's out of character,
smashed
but
his
you know
head
what I
in or
mean? Yeah,
something, I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Or
And
maybe it
I'm
was
very
like one of
excited to
those
get to
things
this.
where like he was infected and she thought she could save him or something.
Yeah, like, oh,
And
it's just his hand or something, and he's like,
right.
no, he's got to go, like that kind of
Right.
thing. Or like you said, maybe I think you just said this, like maybe he was like stealing or something, and maybe he was
Yeah.
like he had to kill him because like he was doing something against the community.
Yeah. And I think it also
That could be
it could
something
play
too.
back into like, who made you judge, jury, and executioner. And I think
Yeah.
we kind of see that as well with um obviously how the first season ends with
Hmm.
him, kind of taking Ellie um and robbing, the world of this potential cure. Uh and he's kind of making these decisions for people.
Hmm.
And who told you can do that? Why do you think you're so high and mighty above everybody else that you can just do these things without any sort of, repercussions?
Yeah.
Um, so I think maybe that kind of plays. I don't know if I'll be interested to see if we get the answer to why all that happened.
Hmm.
I can't imagine
Well,
Catherine O'Hara is going to be this one-off character that
I
does
will
the job
say
again.
this. I don't know any spoilers, but I know that there is an actor this season playing Eugene, like a famous actor. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, but I won't say who or whatever. But yeah, Eugene aside, I can't even imagine. Like you said, I can't imagine that Catherine O'Hara is going to be a one-off because you do see her again in that scene um, at the New Year's party. You see her at
Right.
that scene, kind of just watching from the side of the room, everything going on. So yeah, I thought that their scene was incredible. I thought it was probably Pedro's best acting work you know in a while. I think that not anything to him, it's just I feel like he's been on this run of these kind of like don't or drive away dolls, unbearable weight of massive talent. Like he's been doing kind of these more like fun, lighthearted roles and stuff.
Hmm.
And you really forget just how like emotionally present he can be as a performer. And I think that just the line where with the like I saved her. Like
Yeah.
that was incredible, but also just like even some of the stuff where he had no lines, like when he pushes that guy and he's like, I was trying to help you, and she's like, I don't want your
Yeah.
fucking
What'd you
help.
think of that scene?
I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
I thought I feel like I'm like really low energy on this right now, but I'm very very tired. I thought it was like incredible because and I've seen now the side by sides that it's like basically identical to the game
Oh,
that
yeah.
scene, which I love that this
Yeah.
show. It's like think of it. I'm gonna gotta do a Marvel reference. Think of it as like the sacred timeline is the game. And
Mhm.
this show, like sometimes it goes really far, and then sometimes it's right on the line, and then it goes out again, and then it's like, no, for this 5 minutes, it's gonna be the exact 5 minutes from the
Yeah.
game. But I thought the scene was fantastic. First of all, everything with Dina and Ellie leading into what he says. And I like that it's like this world in the show doesn't let you off easy. It's like he's not just going, hey, stop kissing, this is a family event. He does go to that extra level to be, a bigot or whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call
During
him.
an apocalypse.
During an apocalypse too. It's like this is a church.
Yeah.
Or I think he even says this used to be a church, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, it's not anymore, so shut the fuck up. But then also, I love Joel doing that. And I want to talk about Joel a lot. The last thing I'll say about Pedro's performance is the other scene is Joel on the porch when she comes home, and he's
Mhm.
fixed up the guitar and he's just playing by himself. And I was sitting there, me and my roommate both were sitting there screaming at the TV, going, "Say something! Either one of you, say something!"
Yeah.
Um, and it was just amazing. But back to the New Year's party thing. I just want to get your take on like I know you made reference to the like he's making decisions for other people and stuff, but what is your like because for me personally, as somebody, I guess I'll go first because you have in this realm, you have way more knowledge than me, and way more of an understanding of the at least the game versions of these characters.
Mhm.
Um, to me, I like I see it in two ways, which is like I mean, I definitely see it in the two ways, which is he shouldn't have done what he did.
Yeah.
And then the way that he should have done what, or that he was okay to do what he did. Like, obviously you can see it both ways because those are really the only two ways to think about it. But to me, I do think I side a little more with Joel. I mean, do I think it's right to go in and murder, I don't want to say a hospital full of people because it was not full. It was like 30, 40 people maybe. I mean, it was a lot of people, but it was fairly abandoned. Also, they were fireflies, which are no bueno, guys. So that's another thing to remember. And Ellie went in. Ellie didn't have all the information either.
Yeah.
So it's like Ellie wants to say this stuff. Oh, I'm really trying to gather my thoughts here. Ellie wants to say all this stuff and think all this stuff about that she knows in herself that he was lying.
Yeah.
And that he killed all those people. And that it was the wrong thing to do because she could have saved the world. She could have had purpose. All her life, she had hoped that this thing about her was going to serve this greater purpose. And she feels like Joel has taken that away. We don't know that. And I'm saying I don't know it. Joel doesn't know it, and Ellie doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Maybe you know it. I don't know. Maybe you do know the answer, but I don't know. And to me, I'm like, I totally understand that it's like Ellie's like, I told you that if this situation ever happened, to let them do it to me. But it's not like she went, okay, Marlene, take me in. Let's do it. Let's kill me.
Yeah.
She was unconscious. And they were just going to do the surgery and kill her and not tell her. They literally lied to her, and Marlene was willing to lie to her. And at a certain point, Ellie is 14 years old. I don't know. Did you watch the Geek Buddies review?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I'm going on Roka's thinking with this, and I'm not a 50-year-old man, but I'm like, Ellie was 14 years old. She lived in like captivity most of her life. And Joel is like, I don't know. I just think that I think there's an argument to be made that like, I don't think that Joel did a horrible thing doing what he did. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm just like, to have all of this animosity and the episode itself is saying that it's not like there wasn't a path to forgiveness for Joel from Ellie. It's that path has been destroyed because he lied. And I understand that. But it's like, at the same time, I'm like, but I just think that Ellie is too stubborn of a character to really allow that healing or that forgiveness to happen. And so I just like, I kind of understand why Joel lied too. But I do think that, like, to me, I think saving her life was, in my book, I think the right move to make. I think lying to her was not the right move to make. That's what I think. But I know there's a lot of people who go, no, he should have just let them do it and that should have just been it and everything. But also, we spent 90 minutes in the first episode watching this man's life completely disintegrate around him, and then living another 20 years that we didn't see, now another 5 years that we didn't see, just losing all of this time. And now it's like, he saved her, but was it even worth it? Because she doesn't even, they're at a totally different place in the relationship when we pick up with them. And I see, I'm like very engrossed in this, and like, it's not like I didn't like the episode. I'm very engrossed in it. I'm very like, what is going to happen next? But it just gives me so many thoughts to think about. But yeah, that's kind of where I am at with everything with that. Where are you on the whole, was it right, was it wrong, Joel and Ellie thing?
No, yeah, I think what you're saying is what makes the game and the show so good, is you can see it from both sides, obviously, and you don't necessarily, I guess you want to take a side, but it's really hard looking at both ends.
And not seeing justification.
I think, like you said, I think what broke it and what made it worse is that the fact that he lied about it, and she knows he lied about it.
Yeah, instantaneously,
Yeah,
like on the spot.
And again, you see it in both the show and the game
Mhm.
at the end of the respective season and the first game. It's pretty obvious, and I fail to recall if we ever, at least in the game, maybe it'll happen in the show. I fail to recall if we ever get that conversation between the two of them.
Mhm.
It might just, I'm man,
Yeah,
I'm
I know
going
what
to
you mean.
replay the first game
Yeah.
at least at some point, maybe probably the second. But and that's probably one of the most, uh trying to say it without like spoiling anything.
Yeah. I know what you mean though. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the, the things that happens in the game that's like, well, it's just like crushing, I guess. That's I'm trying to put it so I'm not
Yeah.
like spoiling anything that happens. But yeah, I like I said, I see it from both sides, and I would probably say I don't know if I can really take a side. I would say I'm more on Ellie's side, just the fact that he
Mhm.
lied about it. Again, if he didn't lie
Yeah.
about it, and you just told her. I don't think it would obviously still be a thing, but I think you would be able to move past it
Yeah.
easier
Especially
than
maybe
we
5
are
years
now.
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because he lied, the 5 years just made it worse, and if he
Yeah.
didn't lie, I think the 5 years could have made it better.
Right. And then on top of the fact, again, she's pushing him away in this episode the whole entire time, where she's like, I don't need you. I don't need you to protect me.
Yeah.
I don't know how old she's supposed to
He's
be.
19 now.
19.
Yeah.
And he keeps trying to like make these like gestures.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, you already robbed me of my kind of autonomy when you took me out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So, I can do stuff on my own. And I know, like you said, like, she didn't have all the information. I don't think she knew that she would, I'm sure that was probably in her mind that she would have died.
Yeah.
Had they operated on her, but maybe it wasn't, presently in her mind when she said to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or when she went under. So I think it's kind of those two sides they are constantly looking at. I like I said, I think I side more with Ellie, but I can see both arguments. I'll be interested to see how your opinion evolves.
Yeah, me too. 100%. I hope I could. Oh my god! I hope I can form an opinion on that in season 1 or season 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking. I'm like thinking that we're starting all over because it's a new game, but it's season 2. Like, I don't need everything to happen in this season, but I just hope that we get far enough along in game 2 that I can start forming, a bigger picture of everything, I guess is the thing I'm trying to.
I will just say, like, I mean, we can maybe close it off here, but
yeah,
something I'm very much looking forward to is that kind of big thing. I just want to see them act it out, honestly. Like, it just like, and I've seen, I don't know if you've seen like the behind the scenes of them making the game. As far as
with like Troy Baker and
like the
Ashley
motion
Johnson
capture
and stuff.
aspect of it, like very, very powerful, very emotional scene that I just want to see these two act out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's anything like what Pedro was bringing in this episode,
yeah,
I think we're gonna be good. And
I'm ready to cry. I'm ready to probably cry, honestly.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When you just said she, I don't know which one you're talking about, and I love that, and I think, and whether it's Bella or whether it's Caitlin that you're talking about, I am just excited to see either one of them just go crazy with Pedro Pascal.
And that's real quick. Sorry,
level.
That's the other thing with Shelley. She makes a good point. Couldn't have Sarah. He doesn't want to make a mistake and lose Ellie. That's also true. Ellie's become the surrogate daughter.
Well, that's one of the best lines in the whole thing is that he goes, he's talking about Dina again, that relationship I love with Joel and Dina, where he's like, she treats me better than Ellie does, and she's not even my fucking kid. And Catherine O'Hara's like, neither is Ellie. Yeah, neither is Ellie. But yeah, we'll wrap up on Last of Us, but I want to go to Shelly in the chat says, I agree with Sean about The Last of Us not having a big bang. I thought it was kind of slow. Wish it had a little more excitement. Yeah, I think we covered that and talked about. I just think I think it very intentionally was very slow. But I just think I still felt that, especially compared to like where we're at with Daredevil. It was just a very like mellow vibe to go into it with a little bit of action too.
Yeah.
And then Shelly said, I think that Joel saving her is something he will always do. Part of the relationship in his mind, which could come out in the counseling at some point, is that Allie is a daughter figure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will run. Sorry, last thing. I'll be interested to see if people take to this telling of part 2 better than they did the game. They probably won't. Yeah, it'll probably be a long.
People were like ready to light their houses on fire.
Yeah, there was like the biggest split. You know, for anybody that doesn't know, there was the biggest split when this game came out. People hated it. And some people loved it. I loved it. I'm of the mind that, you know, any sort of art that anybody makes, whether it be a movie, show, you know, any of that stuff, like people are, you know, they're telling a story and they're just asking you to go on that ride with them.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever, you know, you cannot like something, but to react in a way that is either threatening or anything like that, I think is always the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah. Particularly with, I mean, like, yes, Neil Druckmann is a very like public face for this, for the game franchise. And I don't know specifically about anything that he maybe faced during that time or anything, but particularly when you're dealing with like a young female performer who I know, you know, I know about that, you know, about who dealt with all that stuff and everything, and which character brought on the biggest scrutiny of that game. And I just hope that for the actor counterparts in the show that we have gotten at least a little bit better as a society. I mean, I know obviously we have not. It's gotten, in fact, about 100 times worse. But I just hope that there's better protections that they can kind of avoid that bubble and not, you know, see that stuff firsthand or anything like that. Or you know, in a perfect world, that stuff just maybe wouldn't happen and people just understand that it's a show and you could like it or not like it.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on here. Now, actually, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball here for you. TJ, we went and saw a movie this week together.
Yep.
Let's talk. Let's give it's 7:54. Let's give a quick 5 minutes on Warfare. Warfare, obviously, Alex Garland. Cinematic follow up, I should say, to Civil War, which came out just last year. This one has 1 million people in it. Basically the main ones being Charles Melton, Will Poulter, Joseph Quinn, Michael Gandolfini, our guy Daniel Blake. Basically set in 2006 Iraq, just almost a 90-minute in real time unfolding of events kind of the Iraq war. What'd you think about the movie?
I thought it was pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah.
Honestly. You get a nice good not even 5 minutes, like minute in the beginning, probably. And then after that, it's just downhill from there as far as pleasure in watching, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's like everybody sees, you know, whoever watches this movie, any war movie, you know, war's bad. Well, yeah, no shit. But one of the things I realized, and you kind of already know this, I guess, is just watching this and something I said to you walking out. It was just like, you know, you could do all this training and, you know, obviously we know, you know, only a fraction of the training that, you know, people that go into the military go through. Yeah. But once, you know, that shit just starts kicking off, it's just, nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just a shit show. And, you know, you never know if you're like a few seconds away from fucking dying or getting your legs blown off or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, I thought it did a really, really good job of showing you that. And, I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I really thought it was a grim depiction of what war actually is. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. I just it was like when any other war movie and you're like, oh my god, that scene, like American Sniper, oh, that scene with the kid in the beginning with the sniper and everything, like, oh, that was heartbreaking. That was like this as the full movie. it was like every most dire war scene you've ever seen in a movie, but just that is the 90-minute movie. And it's very like they take the back of your head and they hold your head in the movie. Like there is no, it is unrelenting for 90 minutes, except for that first minute, like you said, which was hilarious and just great to see, just great to see them like the before times, like the classic movie motif, like, that moment probably never even happened with those exact guys in that exact room or anything like that. But we should say also, speaking of those exact guys in that exact room, true story. Like ridiculously true story, like location, the people, names changed, and obviously actor portrayals and everything to keep it from being, exactly, or any lawsuits, but 100% real, true story that happened in Iraq, which is like crazy. I'm going to zero in on Will Poulter. I said this to you when we got up in our seats. I was like, man, well, and I'll, light spoiler, not even a real spoiler, but not much physically happens to Will Poulter in this movie.
Yeah.
But like you said, he is almost the defining one of, no matter how much training you have, no matter how high your rank is, sometimes when that shit hits, there is no telling what you're going to do or what your involuntary reaction will be. And just kind of watching Will Poulter, and again, even if you guys consider this a spoiler, he's one of like 20 main characters in this movie. Just watching Will Poulter try to hold it together and just realize, nope, it's too much, and he's just, and then it just spirals out. And then, when Charles Melton kind of fully comes into the story, just seeing how that conversation that they have, where it's like these two guys who are the same age as everybody else, but these two guys who, because of their rank, are kind of the most senior in the group, having this moment together where he's just got to be honest, and he's just like, hey man, I just cannot do it right now. And it's like you see that in his face for all those scenes before, it's like after 10 minutes of real time in the movie, of 10 minutes of the movie, he finally speaks, and how gravelly and like dry his voice is. And then just like kind of you're slowly trying to hope that he can get his shit back together for the rest of the movie. I thought was so great. And then Joseph Quinn, I thought was really great too. And then Cosmo Jarvis. I mean, I saw people being like, oh, he's like the clear MVP of this movie. And it's like, yeah, he's kind of the most like touching, kind of out there story that happens with what happens to him. But I thought, I didn't think he was like Academy Award level above everyone else. I just thought he was one of the actors putting in the insane work in this movie. And I just thought that, and again, the special effects department, the makeup department, oh my God, like the prop, I don't know where the line in this movie of makeup to prop starts and stops. But wherever it is, fantastic. Also, dozens of unnamed Middle Eastern actors who are actors in this movie, as real as they feel and as scary as they feel in this. They're very minimal stuff that sometimes just through the scope of a sniper was great. Just their little facial moves and their reactions and stuff was fantastic. So yeah, I really, really loved Warfare, and I was so happy to see it, because I had not watched a movie nor seen a movie since I saw Cap in theaters. I've just been watching so much TV, like an insane amount of TV, which, by the way, I'm about halfway through the new season of Black Mirror. I'm going to finish all the rest of it on the plane. but yeah, so all right, 8 o'clock. That was our review for Warfare. 8 o'clock. Let's dive in here. Let's talk about what's his name, the devil of Hell's Kitchen himself. Let's talk about Matt Murdock. Episode 9 of Daredevil: Born Again. We are going to be jumping right into this now. TJ, give it to me first. Spoiler free. Do you want to talk about spoiler free on the episode or on the season first?
Let's talk about the episode.
All right, go for it.
Well, I thought the most recent episode of the show and the last episode of the season was probably
the worst thing you've ever seen.
No, probably the best episode of the season, I would say. Again, from last week to this week as well, these past two, you can really tell why they started to go in the different direction that they did after they first started filming the show. Just the choreography, the gore aspect, just raised, to 200 in this show. I would say this episode was still trying to make up for what I felt the shortcomings of previous episodes, and I think that it was a detriment at some points, specifically where I just felt like we were really rushing around to a lot of places in this episode to try and get to a clean slate to get to the second season.
Can we put a tea break in that for a second? Because I agree with you 100%. It has to be, and please save where you were because I just want to make this comment. The more and more I think about it, particularly the bullseye opening of this episode, it has to be some sort of a legal thing that those episodes were locked and they could only change so much. Not when I say legal, I mean with the WGA, with the Writers Guild. It had to be some sort of a legal thing that was like, you can't insert this much new material without changing the writing credits. Because to me, it's too much of a clean cut. Because it's like, why would you not put, just as we said before the revamp, why would you not scatter that Muse stuff throughout the episodes? Why was and I liked the scene. I really did, but I agree with you 100% about bouncing back and forth. Like, why was the bullseye scene in the beginning of this episode? Like, it just felt, and I get that it's like, well, because we don't know about why she's there. But it's like, then make it a different scene. Make it someone else visiting Bullseye. But I digress. Go ahead. But just the more I watch it, the more I'm like, there has to be a real reason why they couldn't mix and match as much as we would want them to.
I loved everything we got with Bernthal. Thought that was all fantastically done. Loved everything with Buck and Fisk and Kirsten. Heather
and Daniel.
We got to, and Daniel. We got to, something that I don't know we're still kind of dancing around the whole what I thought would be the most compelling thing, and they just didn't do anything with it, unfortunately. Which is just the whole vigilante thing and how she's like, well, I think they're losers. And it just like we just danced around it. And unfortunately in this episode we just never got anything with that. And then Daniel, it just kind of seemed like
out of nowhere.
Again, it's the writers, I think, like you said, just trying to find something for him to do. Unfortunately, because it just hasn't worked up to this point. And I also just and this will be a spoiler, so we could talk about later. But I just felt like Sheila, maybe I almost felt like it was a betrayal of her character up to this point.
Okay, I definitely want to talk about that. Because but
yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good finale, good season finale. Really interested to see where this goes. And I thought maybe there would be. I liked the ending. I liked like the musical, the music and all that stuff at the end. And I thought to myself, I was wondering if they could have incorporated a certain webbed hero into this kind of story at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe that would be, and I know they've kind of changed this whole story and stuff for Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe that's where he could come in this kind of thing, and they can make this whole storyline into that movie. But it doesn't seem like that's where they're going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of that, I mean, I'll free spin on that for a second because it's not going to happen. But
right, yeah.
Obviously, legally, him coming into the show, not going to happen.
No,
but
yeah. I knew
the other
that,
way, you know, I
that's
know
what
you were saying the other way.
I thought like
yeah.
the movie wise. Yeah.
The other way, man, if you, and I get it, they just ran out of time. Like Daredevil, the production on Daredevil got delayed because of the strikes and everything, and the strikes just compounded. Nobody gives these studios, and particularly Marvel Studios, who Lucasfilm, they go, yeah, go work on that. Yeah, go work on that. Marvel is the only studio in all of Hollywood that goes, you can't work on that yet.
Yeah.
We got to figure this out, and then you can go. And it's like, it's their biggest strength and their biggest detriment at the same time. But holy shit, the ending of this season, if that had been the lead-in to Spider-Man 4, like, like that, like, oh my God, the way that this ends, because you just change one line, and I'll put it in your head too, even though I texted you earlier, we need an army.
Yeah.
We need an ally.
Yeah.
And then boom, there you go. And then maybe the trailer's already out for Spider-Man 4, and you're like, oh my God, they're doing it. They're doing it. That being said, post Secret Wars, the world resets. Maybe Fisk still has to be dealt with. Maybe that could still happen. So I totally open to that. But yeah, that was a great thing to bring up, because yeah, that would be I didn't even think about that. That would have been an incredible jumping off point for a Spider-Man.
And it's not like you already kind of have that established too. It's like, well, we saw them in No Way Home,
100%. Yeah.
So
literally the only thing you would have to establish is that Fisk is mayor, because Kingpin was already a villain in a Spider-Man movie. So it's like, I'm as if there was a Spider-Man audience who wasn't also a Marvel audience, but a lot of people don't watch these shows at all. Yeah. So, you know, the fact that Kingpin was in a movie, I think is more important than the fact that he's been in all these different series.
But yeah. Sorry, maybe this isn't like a spoiler, but well, I guess maybe it kind of is. It's a light spoiler, but you know, we have this mayor who's creating his own like sovereign country, basically.
Yeah,
like
I like the word city state.
Yeah, city state. So I would think this is maybe, and again, obviously, we need a team, but like you said, we need an ally. Yeah. I think this is definitely a bigger thing than, you know, just Daredevil, obviously.
Yeah, we'll probably loop back to that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was going to say at the very end, but maybe we could just start there. I'm just going to go quick, because unlike Last of Us, where there wasn't much to spoil, I thought this episode was fantastic. Although I actually agree more with TJ than the bulk of the internet, where it's like, this is everything we've wanted. It's like, yeah. I do feel the little bit of like, it's everything I wanted, but like, maybe if this was like a 90-minute finale, and I'm not complaining about the runtime because it was a full hour, but it's like, maybe if it was like a 90-minute finale, or maybe if it was like a 10-episode season, with 3 new episodes. But again, I get it. You can't reshoot the whole episode. You can't film, you know, there's realistic constraints to making television that like, you just can't do everything. But man, what we did get, I thought was great. Although I did feel like it was still kind of had the ball attached to its ankle of the previous show. You know what I mean? It kind of had the like, oh, but Muse, and it's like, let's just drop it. Yeah, like let's just drop it. But yeah, other than that, fantastic episode. All the stuff with Punisher was great. I don't know. I still have this like, to me, it's like, I don't know what it is. I think I'm just too in my head about it, but it's like some of the line reads from Bernthal, I'm like, is he like
He's really
reading
gravelly. Like
is he? But
really
also, it's
gravelly.
like, is he like? I wasn't even going there. I'm like, is he like reading this different because it's like a Disney show? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, it's like, yeah, I freaking love guns. Red. Like some of it feels a little like, and I'm joking about this. I'm using it very lightly, but like it feels a little like AI Punisher dialogue.
Yeah.
In a couple of the scenes, just when they're like in the fight, when he's like, "Yeah, Red, you want to just let him go, huh?" It's
Mhm.
like it feels a little bit like a Kyle Mooney sketch on SNL. But other than that, I really loved it. That is just like the minorest of minor nitpicks to me. But let's just jump full in. Woo! Full spoiler ahead. Let's go ahead and talk about this finale and everything in it. So if you have not watched the Daredevil finale yet, please click out of the video now. If you have, I see the 6 people watching this right now. Thank you so much. 6 people watching us right now. You could all call in right now. We could get your thoughts right here live on the show. Make sure that your camera is off and your microphone is on. The link is in the description and in the live chat to call in. We want to hear your thoughts on Daredevil, any part of the season at all. Let's just jump into it. I think let's start there with the we need an army and this kind of ending and everything. I agree. I think this is setting something up much bigger than just Daredevil. And I don't know. I feel like I know that Daredevil season 2 is coming out right now, but maybe that's like an Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 thing where it's like, yeah, Daredevil season 2 is coming out because we want to give some more story, but like we don't really want to bring like maybe like even the Young Avengers in to fight Fisk or the Defenders or just Jessica, even if it's just Jessica Jones. Say that 10 times fast. Even if it's just Jessica Jones, maybe we don't want to do that right away. So we're going to give Matt even more story. We're going to develop this even more. Maybe let Fisk really build himself up on this city state, on this Red Hook thing. Before we really dive into this huge thing. Maybe it's like, yeah, we want to kind of leave things in a place where Daredevil can come and play around in Doomsday and then go back to his show and kind of work that way. But what do you think it means when the showrunners are telling us, Matt saying we need an army? Like we kind of saying this problem is so big,
Yeah.
we need a team of our own to go up against this guy. And then at the end of the episode too, he makes that comment, and then we see him go to Josie's, and we see people like Karen, people like Cherry, people like is Kirsten there?
I thought she was,
I thought
but I
she
could be
was, but
wrong.
she doesn't know that he's Daredevil. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Oh yeah, you're right.
yeah,
So
but
maybe not.
there was a couple of cops there too, seemingly
Yeah.
like the good cops. They're like, we want to still stand for something and stand for the city. But so maybe that could be the army or the beginnings of the army that he's referring to. But how did you take it? What did you think that meant, that big moment with Karen at the end?
Yeah, I just like you said, I feel like we're kind of building to something bigger.
Yeah.
And to tell you right now, I don't think you're gonna take down Fisk with that army we were seeing in the bar currently. So
that felt like the beginnings of like the groundwork.
Right. So, I would expect obviously, BB to join. I don't know if she was in there. She could have been. I'm not sure.
If I was her after what happened to a certain somebody, I'd be laying low.
Yeah. Yes.
Looking at you, Sheila.
But yeah, like you said, I think it's probably again building something bigger. I don't know, as far as who they would be adding. Just because I'm, I don't have the full breadth knowledge of all the characters in the universe as far as like just even comics. That would make sense to kind of bring into the fold for this show.
I feel like literally anybody. Like I feel like anybody would be on the table.
Do you think we kind of see Dexter just in this apartment? Do you think he joins or no?
Do we want to talk at all or even make reference to the like millions of set pictures from season 2?
Oh yeah, I've seen like a video of like.
Do we want to even mention anything? Okay. No. I just think that I think that is setting up that like I think Dex will be back. in some capacity. And if you're asking me, I think his comment to Vanessa about when she's like, my husband has nothing to do with this, and he's like, he has everything to do with everything. Like you're like, even if you don't believe it, Vanessa, your husband is involved in everything. Like there's nothing that happens that isn't somehow because of him. And I think that is motivation enough for Dex to be like, even if I hate Daredevil, I would help him to take down Fisk. Now the question is, will that be the other way around? Will Matt allow him to help? You know what I mean? Because it's like another thing, and then we're in full spoilers. Another thing that a lot of people were thinking was that Foggy maybe faked his own death. Doesn't seem that way.
It does not
seem that way at all. But could be a long con, could be multiple season arc or anything like that. But I just think that it is going to be now. All right, let me ask you this, then we can move on to some other topics. This whole like we need an army tease, which I'll call it a tease. Where do you think that is, whether it's 2 years from now or whether it's 4 years from now, do we think that is setting up an ultimate payoff in a show or in a movie? Like, could this be the Midnight Suns project we keep hearing about? Could that movie be them taking on Fisk?
That's possible.
Because Midnight Suns and Defenders are two different teams, but in the comics, they're kind of I know that, if 1,000 people were watching this right now, I know people would be freaking out in the comments, but it's like, I know they're not, but it's like, they both are usually anchored by Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
They both have Daredevil. They both have Moon Knight. Like,
right now, I don't know if this is.
Do we get Echo back?
I don't know if this is if Fisk is small potatoes. I don't to this team, but is this a Young Avengers kind of thing that we can get? We have a Kate Bishop tie-in with Fisk already.
I hope so. I mean, hell, I would love if you told me right now, if Kevin Feige was like, hey, I'm going to let you know right now, the actors don't even know.
Yeah.
But the army that he's going to assemble is going to be the Young Avengers to take on Fisk, and that's where we're going. I don't need anything else.
Would you think Fisk is too small of a threat?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think if anything, it's the other way around. I think if anything, like if I'm a dude bro on the internet, I'm like, this is going to wipe the floor with the Young Avengers. And it's like, no, I actually want to see like what damage Billy can do to Fisk, like shoot him with a blue, orb and like send him flying back, but he's going to get right back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we've already seen him fight one-on-one with Kate. So we know that Kate's not enough to take him down. We know that Matt he could probably kill Fisk, but
I just
want to.
I just always go back to the Spider-Man game where you're fighting in that big room, and I think it was the museum or something. And just how cool that it just, think of all the stuff that you could do with a fight, whether it be with Fisk and whoever. But that thought just popped up to me too. Like, oh, that could be a cool little tie-in, because again, you have at least one character in that group that is already established with Fisk. But yeah, let's
and two that are already established with Matt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because now Kamala Khan.
So do you want to go on to? Do you want to take the call first, or do we want to talk about?
Let's take the call first. Maybe the call will give us some information. We got Shelly on the line here. Can you flick your mic back and forth, and then we'll add you in here. All right. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. What would you like to talk about DDBA episode 9?
Just a couple, little highlights for me. First of all, like to get into the whole, talking about an army, and the door opens. I was so waiting. I was hoping Jessica was there, but I also wasn't disappointed. I think it was just high hopes on my end. Like she would have been a good start.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If the camera had panned like up and past everyone, and then you see in the corner that Jessica Jones is there, like with a bottle of beer or something like that, with a Heineken, like that would have been a crazy moment.
Yeah, it would have been perfect because she was in the bar. It would have made so much sense. But yeah, that would have been a real highlight if it had happened. But I wasn't disappointed because I know we've got season 2 and there's a lot to do, I'm sure. But
yeah.
Another thing that I loved was at the end when Fisk and Vanessa went down to have their little dinner, and he just takes this little quick look at the blood on the wall, kind of, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
He just kind of glanced over at it like it was some sort of art painting, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it was chilling. But the only thing I couldn't watch, because I know they said it was going to be so gory and stuff, but the only thing that was really hard for me to watch was the head squeezing moment. That was tough.
Yeah.
I had to look away, and I didn't know if it would make a sound, so I covered my ears only because of that. But everything else was kind of typical. It wasn't shocking,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's because, I think because we were expecting some form of gore, especially for this episode, because they had sort of put that out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only thing that bothered me, but it totally made sense in the moment. I'm just saying I couldn't watch it. Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, I mean, Frank took this whole thing away from everybody else. Every time they went back to him, I mean, his acting in these couple episodes is off the charts, and you think, oh, he's just this like angry, guy that just kills everybody all the time, but there's so much more to him. And I just feel like they're giving us the tiniest glimpses and everything. Like the fact I knew who it was that called him as soon as he said it. And I'm like, yeah, only she could have gotten him to do it, first of all. So I knew who called him and stuff. So it's like, it was just every little thing. And then of course the end where not surprisingly, he's trying to get out of his little cage. But
that was crazy. I thought that was the prison thing was crazy.
I thought that was
I know that was that was weird.
I just was like, why did they make that a post-credit scene? Just put it in the show.
I know. I was, because it wouldn't have surprised us either way, because I was kind of thinking, is he really just gonna sit there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the moment had to be right where it was just him and like a guard, so it made sense. Mm. But I didn't think we were going to get that moment for a little bit. but yeah, I just thought he stole every scene that he was in. I kept hoping he would pop up again, all this kind of thing, and it was just so good and everything. And then that very last shot of him with the rip of the newspapers in the bar window.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh my God. I was like, they're gonna pan out on this and it's gonna be a red suit. And I was like, yep. So I was so glad that's how they ended it. It was perfect. So, and I'm just glad we know already there's a second season. Sometimes when you sit there going, oh, is there going to be a second or third season of this? And you have to wait months and months for people to even acknowledge it or not. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so I am glad that we know it's coming.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first ever Disney Plus Marvel show that's filming the second season immediately.
Yeah, right.
Loki was the
first one.
Yeah, Loki was the only other one that, remember, the end credit of Loki season 1 was the stamp that said Loki season 2, coming soon or whatever. But it was 3 years. Right. It was 3 years between seasons. Daredevil, we're gonna get it's spring right now.
Yeah,
we're gonna get it. I don't know, in the fall. In January,
I heard it
maybe?
was the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, you could put it out the same time next year, but like, do you really want Daredevil to be like your lead into Avengers Doomsday?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like you kind of want to put Daredevil a little sooner, but maybe not. But
yeah, and the part about you guys talking about the young Avengers, I mean, it's been talked about so many times, and I did look into it. There is a point in the comics that like it seems like they have so many different takes on who puts them together. Yeah. And he is one of the names that's mentioned. So I think and he's got that sort of, well, you saw how he was with Peter Parker. So he's got that sort of nurturing sweetness about him, but is, has the vigilante part too. So he can deal with this young group and it's not going to seem like harsh or something. I can't see like Punisher being, helping him out.
I mean, it's like Karen says to him when I forget the exact dialogue, but when they're going through the files and she's like, says something about like it's your retribution, but it's also your mercy.
Right.
Like that makes so different from Frank and so good at what you do in protecting people. And I think that's like his like mercy is what's like really would make him a great leader of this team.
Yeah, and he already has, like you said, the Kate Bishop thing is already there, is already a thing, especially with Fisk and everything. So they're putting connections out there. I mean, look at it. We watched a bank robbery thing, and Miss Marvel's father was there showing her Funko Pop. That cannot be an accident. I just feel like that's more connecting those young Avengers to what's going on and making him aware of these people. So I just felt like...
Did him and Wong ever interact in She-Hulk?
I don't think so.
Okay,
that's
what I thought. Just because we saw that concept art for the Kang Dynasty or whatever it was, and it was Wong with the Young Avengers. So I'm wondering if like it could be Wong and Daredevil as like kind of the New York, the mature people in New York kind of thing.
Yeah, because I that would also fit together because Wong and Matt would work well together, and Wong would be a perfect foil for, especially the humor part of the Young Avengers, of which all of them have it.
Yeah.
Like every Young Avenger that they're talking about has this humor about them as well. So I think you need someone like that in there, and he would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I agree 100%. And thank you, the whole season for calling in and giving your thoughts on everything. Maybe we'll put together a Shelley supercut of Daredevil thoughts.
That would be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. I feel like that gave us a lot of ground to cover on there. Let's just talk about Frank. Let's just go in on everything with Frank in this episode. What did you think? How he showed up, the mention of the call. Like, me too. I was just like, well, there's only one person that this guy would get out of bed for, even if, as much as as they say in the episode, I think, you're lying. You do care as much as we as an audience know that Frank cares about Matt, like just as a person. I do think it would only be Karen that would get him to actually go and, go and help defend this other guy. And also, he takes accountability for the copycat, fanboys, as he calls them. But what did you think about all the stuff with him and Cole North? And then let's just go all the way through with the stuff with him and Powell, and then even to the end.
Yeah, I thought everything with Frank was great. I told you every time he killed somebody, I just had to laugh because it was just the most like audacious. Like,
the axe throw was crazy,
ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I just, I thought all of his kills were great. The call, I don't think Karen first came to mind. I forgot who it was, but obviously Karen makes the most sense.
You thought it was Foggy. Oh my God, he's back
from the dead.
Yeah.
No, but I thought all their interactions were great. I thought him kind of egging on Matt, to kill, what's his name? Did you say his name is? The guy in the apartment?
Oh, Cole North.
Cole North, yeah.
Who we finally got confirmed is who killed Victor, which we already figured, or Hector, sorry.
Yeah. Who we think, I'm pretty sure, is almost 99.9% dead. We don't see a body. They always say you don't see a body, they're probably maybe not dead.
Yeah.
But like when he tells him to kill him, he's like, he's not worth it. And then Frank's like, yeah, well, is he worth it? He freaking shoots him in the head.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I was like, oh my God, this frick guy. And then everything with Powell I thought was really, really good.
I can't believe that son of a bitch survived this season. But I'm glad, but I'm mad.
I think last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, about
Mhm.
him kind of talking to these dirty cops and all that
Yeah.
stuff we got in this episode. I thought it all was great.
Yeah.
Did I think maybe him going and doing that and going by himself and all that stuff was kind of stupid? Yes. But I guess, in a way it worked for me, just to
Yeah.
get that interaction. And then obviously him and Karen, their interaction, I thought was also great. Kind of letting his guard down. Is there something with the whole coffee thing that I'm not getting? I feel like that was like,
I don't know. That felt
okay.
like a thing from, I don't remember Punisher season 2 that great, but I feel like I remember season 1 pretty good.
Mhm.
I just recently watched it and there was nothing in there.
They
but
kept
maybe it was-
bringing it up. I'm like, am I
yeah, it was
missing
like 3
something?
different times. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I just all around, I wish we had more of him this season. I'm hopeful, and obviously,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Wasn't like getting coffee, wasn't that like the euphemism for when like Matt and Karen would like hook up?
Oh,
So maybe it was like,
I don't know.
think
I don't remember.
because in episode 1 of this season,
Yeah.
when they're like in the bar right before Foggy dies, he's like, "Any chance we want to get some coffee?" And they're like, "What the hell?"
Right.
So
Yep.
maybe that's like a big maybe, but I think it might be a callback to that. Sorry, it just like popped in my brain. But yeah, 100%. But yeah, you were talking about him with going to Powell and like doing everything by himself.
Yeah, I thought that was all great. Him calling them clowns, and you don't know my pain. You don't even know half of it. And I just thought all that stuff was great. And yeah, so like I said, I'm just excited to see what they do with Frank in the next season. Just real quick, and this is kind of just bouncing off him because he's in that cage. Did you think it was just kind of? I feel like maybe they made the wrong choice putting Donnie Dalton in that cage. To me, I get why Frank's in the cage because he literally walked into a place where he was outnumbered. And I get they were going out. Obviously, I get they were going out rounding up the vigilantes and stuff like that. But it just felt weird that they just kind of they didn't even like focus on him in the cage. They just kind of glanced by him.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I will say, I think it is, again, I'm not saying this is like that you like miss this dialogue or whatever, but like a lot of this show, like there's a lot of things that's like, well, no, they did actually mention that, but it was like one line, like 5 episodes ago. When Jack in the 2 episodes ago or last episode goes up to the blonde woman and he's like, "Where's Adam?" And she's like, "I have no idea." I think or not Adam. Adam was the other guy. Basically, I think they were kind of hinting at and setting up that like Fisk had been like rounding up, like when he took Jack into that room, basically anyone who stood against him was like, well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he says to Jack, or Jack walks away and he says to Cole North, he's like, "You want us to take care of him?" And he goes, "Not until the check clears." So I think that was like the idea is it's like once he gets the support and the money from these people, he's locking them up in Red Hook.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those things where it's like those people are vigilantes that I'm familiar with. And I know this guy is a hero. So it's like, show me him fighting them off or something. I don't know. Like it just makes me think that he's just not, he's just not all that.
And I agree because I actually was like, when the episode ended, I was like, "Oh, you know what this means?" I was like, "It means a lot of things." But one of the first thoughts I had was, I was like, Frank and Jack are in there together. I was like, this like guarantees us more Jack next season. And then the post-credit scene, I was like, oh, maybe not. It's like maybe we just aren't going to go back to this prison or something. But I actually think we probably will see Jack again next season. I do agree. I feel like maybe it was like, maybe he had like his one-off episode in the original version of the show. and they were like, listen, we're like rewriting this and like changing some stuff up. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, you're not cutting Tony Dalton. Like, like
Right.
whatever happens, like you find a way to work him in and use him. So I do think he'll probably be in season 2 with a little bit more to do. But yeah, I can't even think of a reason that he's even in this season other than there must have been a reason in the previous iteration that they were like, well, he's already attached. Like we're going to use this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see where that goes. But yeah, I didn't have as much problem with that because I took it as the real world comparison to somebody that Fisk has kind of been mirroring all season with, just locking up any of your political, dissidents or whatever. Anybody who disagrees with you is getting thrown in. You know what I mean? So I think it went to show that I think it's more than just the vigilantes, but I totally take your meeting with, it did kind of feel like it took a little bit of, even just seeing Frank in there, I feel like it took a little bit of power away from Frank for like a second, but then the end credit scene, you earn it back by being like, oh, he's just sitting there because Fisk is here and he's not going to try anything when Fisk is right there. But he's like this one guard, I could probably take him. I also, you said that the post-credit scene, I think you said this, you were like, it's kind of felt pointless. I didn't think it felt pointless, but I thought it went on too long.
Oh,
I think you grab the hand, cut to black, and you hear I didn't need the like breaking the hand, pulling in the thing. Like I just, it could have been a lot quicker of just like, hey, come here. I heard you were a real big fan. Let me shake your hand. And then just cut to black and just like a bone crack. And that's it. And then that's all you would need. But they just put a little bit of a hat on a hat in that scene. But by and large, I thought that he was incredible in this. We're apparently getting the Punisher special this year, I guess. Okay. Apparently they're filming it like now concurrently with Daredevil season 2. So, and that's only going to be a special. So they're going to get that out way before the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything with, and then obviously Frank is in Daredevil season 2. So anything with Frank, I'm on board. I thought it was fantastic. Like you said, his conversation with Karen was great. And just his back and forth with Matt. I mean, just any time that the two of them are in a scene together, it's just like electric. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't know if it's just the Charlie Cox of it, but it's like almost any guy besides Heather that guy's in a scene with is like electric chemistry the entire time. But yeah, what did you? Yeah,
can we talk about? I want to talk about Heather and how that whole thing kind of went, and then I do want to talk about Sheila because that seems to be a conversation.
Yeah, let's leapfrog this. Let's do Heather.
Yeah,
and then let's do Daniel, Sheila, Gallo, and then the person we have kind of been avoiding talking about this whole time. Let's end with Fisk.
Okay.
Because so much to go into there. Yeah. But yeah, what do you want to talk about with Heather?
I just felt like
a crazy decision.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like, again, this is kind of them trying to make up for what they were stuck with.
Just incredibly shocked that she is seemingly coming back.
If
you had given me $1 million to bet, I would have said, oh, she might not die, but she's done with this season.
It was just a very quick, like, specifically in the hospital, I expected something more of her being, and I know he's kind of going off the deep end and she thinks he's like insane, that he's like, Fisk is this evil guy, it's his master plan. He's talking to Kirsten. He's like, oh, you got to go get this thing from, Fogg. He was filing this motion and, he thought he had already, all this stuff. And she just is like cold. It's just like, it's just like, she can't get off this thing that she thinks he's insane. And in my head, I'm just like, I just feel like I shouldn't say a normal person. I just feel like this character would probably care more about her boyfriend being literally shot and almost dying. Yeah. And there just seems to be no care for that at all. I don't know. It's just, and again, this kind of goes back to them just not having any chemistry really throughout the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt, well, first of all, I think it was like odd that because I don't think we're going to get it next season. It felt odd to me that like there was no real like official like breakup moment.
Right.
Like if and I get structurally, I totally get that it doesn't make any sense to have Matt and Heather interact after the hospital because it's like it all happens so fast. But that being said, it's like then make that hospital scene more final. Like she just goes like, I don't think I should see I don't think I think I should come back when you've had a chance to calm down. And then we just never see them together again. And it's like, just break up right there. Just like write that. And I know that it's like, is that rewritten? Is that reshot? You know, it's difficult with a couple of these characters to know what they really could redo and stuff like that, you know? But I mean, if they had the chance to have her on set, I would have been like, let's like make this a little more final so that because then her making the decision, which I guess we haven't really said, is Fisk asked her to be the commissioner of mental health for his administration. Yeah. But yeah, that's my point is if they had a big breakup fight, I think it would have done two things. Because let's lump her in with Heather because last two episodes, Kirsten has gotten a little bit more, and Kirsten is one that I am excited that she's going to be continuing on. It seems. Because we see the last shot we see of Kirsten and she is looking at all the foggy stuff and being like, oh shit, like there's something here. So that was a cool spot to end with Kirsten. But I think it does two things in that hospital scene is if Heather has this big blow up at Matt, it endears Matt and Kirsten together more.
Yeah.
To be like, you set me up, like not that Matt would say this, but for Kirsten to go like, oh, I set them up, like this did not seem like a good match. Like to have any kind of payoff to Kirsten setting them up would have been great. And it motivates Heather's decision to say yes to Fisk because she would be doing it out of spite.
Right.
You know,
and Kirsten also has that connection where it's like she knows about she doesn't know Daredevil specifically, but she knows about Foggy and obviously
and
Heather knows about Foggy, but it's not as ingrained, I would say. And
I mean,
Kirsten knows about Dexter and all that other stuff.
Kirsten and Foggy were chumming it up. They were the ones drinking together.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Which
it was just weird. And like you said, the whole making her this kind of leader of what was it called again? Administrator,
Commissioner of Mental Health.
It didn't really work. It just didn't work. It made really no sense, honestly. Considering
square peg
again, we've seen them in how many sessions together? 3? Not even. I think it might be less than that.
I think it was less than that.
Yeah. So and it's just again, it's them again trying to how can we, after everything and we've rewritten this, how can we kind of bring it all together?
Yeah.
And that's what they came up with, which, you do with, you make do with what you have, I guess. And then, so yeah, let's move on to Sheila and the commissioner and Daniel.
Yeah.
So Daniel, I don't really think there's much to say. It just, he doesn't have anything to do, unfortunately. I feel
like in this episode, he had stuff to do. To your Heather point, I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked for me what Daniel was doing.
Could go back, honestly, and this is probably speaking to the actor. I think you take everything that Daniel has, just add it to Buck, and I think it's like way better. I just think
I agree with you 100%.
I just think, and again, when Daniel's like one kind of bigger scene is when he's like interrogated, or he's like
when he's like with the council.
Yeah, Buck's in the background, basically saying the same exact thing, and it's like just give it to
that's
Buck
the moment particularly that didn't fit, didn't seem right, didn't work for me. All three things was Daniel with the coat open.
Yeah,
right, Buck.
Suspenders exposed.
When he goes right, Buck. And Buck goes, yeah. And I'm like, I loved when Buck said, yeah. That was great. Like you said, honestly, the actor, I'm going to let you talk for a second because I'm going to look up his name. But the actor that plays Buck, I mean, he is right.
Frauschen, I think. Frauschen.
Everybody's got to have these crazy names that I can't pronounce. But he is fantastic. He is right up there. I think I said, we said at the beginning of this, like, oh, he's your like new Wesley type. I think I might like Buck more than Wesley.
I like him more, yeah.
Yeah, I think I do, because Wesley had that nasty quality to him that was like, this guy's kind of like scuzzy. Buck is like, that he's got that more like upper crust, like British, like he's like a British fixer type that would be like in a Guy Ritchie movie or something like that. Like he like fell off the truck from The Gentleman. In a great way. I mean that like fantastically. So I'm glad that we have touched in on Buck, who really is such a minor character in this show, but is one of the things that throughout the entire season I think has been consistently, I'll say, great. I don't think there's been a single moment or note of the Buck character that I wasn't like, oh, this is like fantastic. Even when he's like inviting them to the ball last week, and he's like, he does that little look into his apartment, and you're like, he's like shutting the door on him. I thought it was great. But yeah, let's go back to talking about Daniel.
Yeah, so I just, again, Daniel, I don't really know what we're going to do with him next season. Maybe they find something for him to do. Maybe they just give him, and I just don't think there's not enough to do to just make him this kind of deputy communications guy. And it's like, is he just like chief propaganda guy or something? Like, I don't know, just like,
it seems like
Michael Gandolfini needs something more. He needs something more. He needs something more to chew on. And this kind of moves us over to Sheila and what I said earlier, where her, I felt like she was the kind of I don't know,
voice of reason.
The voice of reason in this whole thing, and she kind of just sells out the commissioner. And for me, I'm like, I feel like we've built her up as like this person who would try to keep Fisk in check, and we seem to just kind of get rid of that. And everything we've seen prior to this is like,
is that what happened?
Yeah, she sells him out.
How did she sell him out? I thought
she recorded him on the phone, didn't she? Because he's listening to the recording.
I saw that wrong, because I took that as I saw him listening to the recording, and then Sheila's crying in the hallway.
Yeah, which I think she feels bad.
Now it's like all sitting with me different. Right. I thought that it was like he had gotten that recording from someone else, because she goes, if you need, because the recording ends when she goes, but if you need a quote, I'm there.
Right.
But I thought that was him being like, oh, Sheila has turned on me, but I'm waiting for that penny to drop.
Right.
But I think you might be right. I think I totally misjudged that.
Oh, you're the ears of this place. You know what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
He says that earlier.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, at first when she's talking to the commissioner, I was like, oh, she's gonna play this as like a double agent. She's gonna, maybe like BB kind of, BB's talking under like three names or whatever.
Yeah.
She's writing articles under different names. Maybe this would be like a Sheila kind of thing. And that isn't what happened at all. So I'm like, okay, so again, now you have two people that are, and Sheila obviously has more to do than Daniel, but I feel like you have two people here that Buck could do both those jobs. Personally.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's
way worse for Daniel.
It's way more worse. I think it's more like you have three people here and it could be two people, and that's Sheila and Buck. I think that just those two things where it's like but like I don't even know, like I just don't I literally just full blanket, I don't understand why the Daniel character is in this show. Like structurally, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I get that it's, I guess to me, the thing that I keep going, and I'm talking about like when you're sitting down going, where are we taking this show? So I'm trying to like project these characters to what their end is, maybe. And I'm like, okay, maybe Daniel's here because of something that just has to make the BB thing work. But I think the BB thing was working on its own. I don't think any of BB's great scenes really had anything to do with Daniel. Like, yeah, he set up the meeting. Here's another thing. Fisk could just go, I've heard of this. Bring her in.
Yeah.
Instead of having this entire character created. And I know that there's certain YouTubers that I think look at this character and just see his dad, because they are seeing something that we are not. That they're like, this guy's, I love this guy in every episode. And I'm like, what are you guys seeing? Because I don't get it. And I really don't know if it's just a Gandolfini thing or if it's a writing thing. Probably is some combination of both.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, but yeah, I think just totally. I'll have to watch the episode again and give you my thoughts on the Sheila thing, because I think I just totally read that wrong. I think you're 100% right, and I went out over my head. I think I just missed like a line or something.
No, I think I had a split second too of like when she's like you said, when she's crying, I was like, oh, maybe he, but then I would have figured, oh, she would end up the same way as the commissioner. Not maybe as much gore or something.
Yeah, like I thought she was crying because she would be like, oh, I'm next.
Yeah.
But then it's like what you're saying makes way more sense though, because it's like then in the end, she's just in the administration, like clapping along with everyone else. And I took that as like, oh, she's like knows her time is running out. But I don't think that was there at all. I think that was just me reading it wrong. But that's totally fine. Speaking of time running out, what did you think about Gallo?
Yeah, I thought, again, another thing that made sense. Again, we had kind of been building up to this slightly. I feel like, here and there. Was he in the room when they're talking about like the use of force and all that stuff? And I had to laugh when Fisk, I forget what the exact line was when they were talking about it, like in the beginning of the episode. He goes, "It should be encouraged." Just the way he said all that stuff, I thought was really funny. But yeah, that was a crazy.
Oh yeah, Gallo goes. He goes, it almost sounds like you're condoning, or that you're what does he say? That you're condoning? That's like good, that, right? Yeah. He's like, it almost sounds like you're condoning the use of lethal force. And he goes, condoning?
Encouraging.
I'm encouraging it. That was crazy. He was like so baffled that he would question him on that.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
I felt like Gallo was kind of setting up these things a way to get his kind of voice out there. He said he's going to Albany, I think, at one point.
Yeah. I just as like people who live in New York State, I'm like, does that line like work for anyone else in the world? Like I have those moments where I'm like, I'm heading to Albany tonight to where the real power is. And it's like, okay, like I'm going to the governor's mansion.
Yeah, I thought the splitting of the popping of the head was crazy. That was
because it didn't even pop. It opened like a puzzle box. It was like, like it was so graphic. It was so gross.
And I thought, him getting into the car was kind of a really sad moment, I guess. To see this kind of brand new. Not brand new cop, but the rookie cop that it seemed like he maybe not trained, but had a slight relationship with or something at one point, and to see what he kind of what side he turned on.
Yeah. And I liked too that as I like that they're showing because it's like for a while it's like, well, how many cops are really on this thing? But I think that this episode really did this episode did a great job of going, it's no longer just the Powells. It's now a second tier of Gallo's like, let's call him Ricky. He's like, Ricky, is that you? I haven't seen you since you were a rookie. Like, and to Gallo, it's like, oh my God, this guy, like, I haven't seen you in years. Like, how have you been doing and stuff? But to him, it's like, you're the boss that didn't fight hard enough for my overtime. You're the boss that kept me on these terrible hours. You're the boss that didn't give me that promotion. You know what I mean? It's like, so as much as I hate the anti-vigilante task force cops, it's like, this episode almost does a good job of like, you can see where some of them are coming from, where it's like, they feel abused by the system just the same way that they think Frank did. And that's why that scene is so effective to loop back around now, is like, that's why that scene with Powell, who has been a fucking asshole the whole season, amazing actor. That guy is so good. I'm so glad that he's coming back for season 2. This show feels like a real show. that there's like 20 characters that were like, maybe like we're still engrossed by Daniel, even if we don't like the character that much. And it's like he's the weakest character on the show, in my opinion, maybe in your opinion as well. But like he's the weakest character on the show, and I'm still engrossed in what's going on because maybe this scene will be the scene where I'm like, oh, I finally get Daniel and it clicks.
Yeah.
And like to me, Powell, I've always gotten Powell, but the scene with Frank was like, this guy's like lost, man. Like, yeah, he's an angry guy who like, you know, picked on it, whatever, but like this guy's like a lost soul that Frank is like, you think you know like why I do this? Like, why are you doing it? You're like, you don't know why I'm doing it. You're emulating me and you don't even know why you're emulating me. And it's going to ruin your life just the way it's ruining my life. Like, I hate being the Punisher, but this is who I am. And you have no idea how I got to this place. And you're just acting like you're going to hop in and do what I do. Only problem with that is you're a police officer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get your shit together. And cutting back to Gallo, I think...
What's that one... Oh, my God. Sorry, continue talking.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, cutting back to Gallo, I think they did a great job showing even a leader like Gallo with great intentions who, in the funeral scene... way earlier in the season, in the funeral scene, he's like, you don't mess with my boys. And it's like, dude, they're not your boys. Like as much as I loved Gallo as a character, it's almost like he was blind to what was happening right under his nose. And it's like, for that, I feel like morally, I think it did make sense that he was kind of the big death of this season, to be like, as much as this is a terrible situation, you kind of let this situation fester under your watch. Yeah. And I know that's tough to put on one person, but you're the commissioner of police. Right. Who else am I going to put it on? But I liked that a show that I went on this show that you and I make and was like, I love that this show is unafraid to rail against the police. I now think the same show really kind of aptly was like, everybody's different. Like every single situation is different to every other situation. And to one view, Powell is like a lost, confused guy looking to Frank Castle, a notorious murderer, as this like beacon of, something to aspire to. And then in another circumstance, it's like this guy's, beating up a blind lawyer. And it's like the different, what am I trying to say? The different justifications for their actions, I just think are handled really, really well all throughout the season.
Yeah, you just talking about Bernthal or Frank and Powell going back and forth. Just reminded me of when what Bane says to Batman when he says like, "You adopted the darkness, I was born into it." That whole thing kind of just like, I don't know, that kind of crystallized for me right there.
Yeah, I thought it was great. All right, let's go. Let's talk. Anything that we haven't said, I just want to give Fisk a dedicated moment here before we wrap up on everything going on.
No, I think we've
Red
kind
Hook,
of touched
everything.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to just go Fisk and Vanessa kind of both.
Yeah. I think these two, I would say more than anything else, because Matt's story ends on a really big high, but it's kind of got the Heather element of it. So to me, Vanessa and Fisk together, they end on the absolute like highest in their lives of they're stronger than ever. They have almost unlimited power with no oversight. They have this city state that they're beginning together. And I think like in terms of writing and like in terms of this episode being great, I just thought that all of their stuff was really, really fantastic. And I literally enjoyed like every single minute that they were on screen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought kind of immediately after the shooting, I think I just felt like they brushed over the whole kind of Matt jumping in the way of this bullet for Fisk. And we talked about it for, I feel like a decent amount of time last week. Of like why he did it and what does it mean going forward. And they kind of just brushed it away, which I feel like it's definitely a more interesting conversation that maybe they'll go back.
I feel like, I think they will. I think because they brushed it away in the Heather scene, where he like, I just reacted and I just jumped. But then with Frank, he was like, why did you take a bullet for that dickhead? And he's like, I don't know, Frank, maybe I don't know. I
just thought there would be more discussion between Visk and Vanessa, and there just wasn't about it. And I was kind of like, oh man, I kind of, they kind of immediately go to like, oh well, what can we do from here? And he did say, I know, which, so he knew about it seemed like, did you get the idea that he knew about the whole Poindexter thing, or is that not what he meant?
I don't think that's what he meant. I don't think he knew. I think it was like I forget the exact dialogue, but I took it as like I know you did what you had to do. Like, I know that the things you did, which honestly to me is a little shocking, because it's like, I do think that he valued the deal he made with Matt of you don't step out of line. I won't go at, or, I won't go after Karen or Foggy. You won't go after Vanessa. That was the deal. It wasn't, I won't go after Karen or Foggy and you don't beat Daredevil. That was not the deal. So it's like, Matt didn't go against the deal. So I was a little shocked that he was so like cavalier with just not caring, but maybe I'm just expecting too much out of Fisk. But yeah, I took it as like, almost like, I know, like, you did what you had to, and I don't even really care, because now we're together and we're like running this stuff. That's the way I took it, at least. But yeah, I loved the moment, when Gallo gets there and all the cops are there, and you're like, oh, the cops are gonna like fucking kill him and stuff.
I thought they were gonna beat him up or something.
Yeah, that's what I think that's what they want you to think. And then like, this is the mark of great script too, and great direction, is right before it happens, your brain goes, it has to be Fisk. He's got to go, because when Gallo says to him, oh my God, you never even stopped being Kingpin. You really never did stop being Kingpin, did you? Fisk is like, oh, you want to bet? And that's the moment that you're like, oh, this guy, I thought he was just gonna like gorilla stomp him, but it was even worse. And then
it was worse.
When Gallo got in the car, I thought they were gonna go 1-for-1 and have him slam the car door again. But I was like, that might be too on the nose. So instead they had him squish his head in another way. Which was like crazy. And the CGI, whatever they did with the CG and then the makeup to that guy's face, obviously once it's like busted open, it's like prosthetics,
like
but the CG right before the prosthetic, where like his face was getting like all bent and like purple and stuff, that CG was like fantastic, because that's like a really hard look to not make cartoony. And it looked like fucking terrifying. Like, to be honest, I was like, oh my God, it's a character that we really like. But, like I said, I am defending Joel, but being like, I think Gallo maybe deserved it. It's like, it's like everything's different. But I think to wrap up, I agree with your original first sentence about this finale, which is, I think you still felt in certain moments the kind of drag, like the kind of weight that was around its ankle from just dealing with the baggage of everything that was supposed to come before it and did come before it, versus like the show that's kind of trying to like jump out and be like, no, this is the direction we want to go with this. And I think that all that stuff will be, so it'll just be, whether it's good or bad, season 2 could suck, it's going to be a cohesive vision. And that's what's got me the most excited, and that's why the thumbnail tonight says, I think it says the best is yet to come, is what our show says on the thumbnail, and I think, and I hope that that's true.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think again it kind of struggled maybe just to wrap up a few things that had been set up previously in the season, but overall I thought it ended strongly. And I think season 2, I think you'll still have some of those kind of things that are kind of weighing it down, as far as Daniel goes, or Heather, just kind of those characters, how can we make them I don't want to say matter, but like fascinating, or you want to see more of them, or these relationships work. How can we kind of jumpstart this so when they're on screen, you're not like, here we go again with these two or whoever. And maybe honestly, if you told me like Heather like just doesn't show up again, honestly, because I just don't know what
like
she
she's
can do
just
from
in
that
the
position.
administration.
Yeah, just like something like that. Like you don't really see her, and she's just kind of in the like you said, in the administration.
The only thing I could think of is maybe she doesn't show up, and then boom, we're in like a court case, and she's like a star witness or something,
right?
Or something like that, where it's like Matt's like, they're like, and to the stand, Dr. Heather Glenn, and it's like, whoa. Also, last thing I want to say, is it just me or did all season people were pronouncing it Glenn or Glynn? I feel like half the time they would say Dr. Glynn. And I'm like, it's Glenn. It's with an E. But anyways. All right. That will do it for our big extravaganza Daredevil talk. We will be back talking about Daredevil in less than a year, which is awesome. Considering it's been a long time since the show has been on the airs. Has been on the air. I really liked it. I hope you guys liked it. I know TJ liked it. It has ups and downs and everything like that, but I think overall, really, entertaining return to this show with some really, really high highs. And I'm excited to see that continue. But that will do it for me. That won't do it for me. I want a quick housekeeping. Next week's show, possibly going live with TJ and someone else, mystery co-host, not myself. I will be on vacation. Which is like crazy that I'm even saying that, but I will be out on vacation. And then the week after that, because of my vacation, I am being punished with having to work that Wednesday night. So Andor, we might, if there is no show next week, at least by the midpoint of the season, we will have a review out. That Friday, that's like whatever it is, May 2nd, Friday, May 2nd, we will have something out because that's also Thunderbolts week. So there's a lot of stuff going down right when I'm getting back from my vacation, but we are going to get Andor caught back up with. And then we are also going to get our thoughts out there about Thunderbolts as soon as we can as well. But other than that, that will do it for me. I have been one of your hosts, Sean Monk. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with somebody who loves Daredevil or is interested in The Last of Us. And that'll do it for me.
I've been your host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we will see you next time.